Okay, it's time to have some fun. You've received your stretcher. It's ready for assembly, and we'll spend just a couple of minutes going over the tools you need and the instructions for assembly. So you'll receive in your package some stretcher bars. In this case, we've got a basic stretcher consisting of 20 and 12-inch bars. You'll have some keys, and you'll have an instruction sheet. You'll have instructions on one side and some tips for assembly on the back. Make sure you read through these before you assemble the stretcher. Tools that you'll need for assembly will include a measuring tape, a carpenter's square, which is optional, and I'll explain that later. It's good to have a staple gun and a mallet. Now, we use a heavy mallet here, generally for the bigger frames. If you want, you can also use a mallet head, which we supply for about $4, which fits onto your hammer. And this works well. So I'm going to assemble a small frame. This is a basic stretcher consisting of two 12-inch basic stretcher bars and two 20-inch stretcher bars. So you take one bar of each size to begin with. Holding one in place, you can wiggle the second one into position. Now this is important. You want to make sure that the bars are not offset. You want to assemble the bars so that the tips meet and forms a nice square corner. Final bar. Again, you want to make sure the corner of both bars meet. Sliding the second one into place. There's a bit of friction here, so you'll have to wiggle it into place with a little bit of effort. You may want to use a mallet to help you with this until, again, the corners meet. Now you can go back and check all the other joints. Make sure they're tight, nice and flush along the miter. So now we want to check to make sure that the frame is square. And there's two ways we can do that. If you have a carpenter square, you can simply put the square on one of the corners. This one is showing that the frame is indeed square. You can check all corners if you want, but if one corner is square, that's usually an indication that the entire frame is square. Another way to check the square is to measure the diagonals. So in this case, I've got 23 and 1/8 for this diagonal, and the other diagonal should be the same, which it is, 23 and 1/8. If one diagonal ends up being longer than the other, then you'd have to just tap on the corner of the long diagonal, and that would bring the frame into square. The frame is now square. Before you're going to be able to stretch it, what I would recommend you do is to lock it into position. And the simple way to do that is to simply put staples across the back of the stretcher. Two per corner will lock the frame into place temporarily. This frame now is locked into its square shape and is ready for stretching.